up guys, it's Mega giving you another deck for Link Evolution. Today guys, I'm giving you a Orcust deck. The reason why I'm giving you an Orcust deck is because it is the one on the list after Dragon Maid, and I'm going to say this here and now, I've tried to do Dragon Maids for 3 days in a row. I did make the deck originally a couple of weeks ago, but I've tried for 3 days in a row just trying to make it better and just try and get some form of replays and stuff for it, and no matter what you do, it's, in my opinion, unplayable. It is really unplayable. Without the new support, the deck just kind of dies, and also it doesn't help. The Darkness Metal Dragon is banned, and that's an enough key for the deck because obviously it's a dragon, and they can get the dragons easy on the field. And obviously that's banned, and you don't have the new support, which does fix a lot of the problems the Dragon Maids have. And yeah, it's really, really unplayable in my opinion. It's one of the worst archetypes I've ever played in my life. Really, really bad. So I decided to go with the next one, and that is Orcust. And for Orcust, guys, I can understand now why they are very they got nerfed on the ban list a lot, and there were people getting sick of them because holy moly, are they? I've never played Orcust before, and I think I'm in love with this deck. I really do love it. It's just that it's got a lot of being able to special summon. Yes, a lot of the things lock you into dark monsters, but then you're able to go into a lot of monsters that have very powerful effects. Have an omnigating a trap card that saves searchable. Oh, it's just a lot of good stuff. If you're struggling to make this deck on any deck shown so far, guys, check out the card hub. Not if they tell you if a card is in this game or not, it will tell you where to find it, like a campaign, a duel, a challenge mode, card pack, you name it, it will tell you where to find it. That is in the description down below. And with that, guys, let's get into the video. Now, guys, I wanted to point out we are not running cards like Ash Blossom and stuff, simply because it's kind of not really needed in this deck. It's all about turboing, going into our plays, and just going mad from there. So starting us off is the lone copy of Armageddon Knight. It is limited to 1, and its effect is upon being summoned, it doesn't matter if it's normal or special summoned. And it is a not once per turn as well, please bear that in mind. You can send a dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. So all of our dangers are darks. Realistically, you're going to send either an Orcust card, or you could even send the Phantom Knights, because then that searches out the rank up magic card. Or you could even send Gizmek, so then Gizmek can special summon itself. There's a lot of things you can do with Armageddon Knight. Just sets up the deck. It's basically the monster version of Foolish Burial. We are running a little bit of a danger package, and that is because the dangers of all dark monsters, and you can activate, you can keep special summoning them even with the Orcust restriction, and it is kind of like a double cannon. You get your monsters in the graveyard, like your Orcust cards in the grave, so they can play their effects, and the same for if Gizmet, you don't care if it's in your hand or grave, it sends your cards to the graveyard for the Scrap Recycler, so you could summon Scrap Golem. And it doesn't use up your normal summon, it's special summoning, so you can go into some mad Link plays with this. So with Nessie, all of them have the same effect, where you reveal the card, one card is chosen at random. If it's the danger card, it goes to the graveyard, and then all the dangers have an effect that activates should they be discarded, and if the card isn't the danger monster. So for instance, you've got 2 cards in your hand. If it isn't the danger monster, you get to special summon it, and then you get to draw a card to replace the danger monster, basically. So it's pretty nice, and or to replace the card that you discarded. So if Nessie is discarded, you get to special summon. If he's discarded, sorry, you get to add a danger from your deck to your hand. So it's pretty nice. So regardless, you get to add either Jackalope or the Tuschinkakol. That's a mouthful. To your hand. And as for Jackalope, should it be discarded, you get to special summon a danger from your deck, apart from Jackalope, which is kind of great. So basically, with Jackalope, regardless if you choose it or if it gets selected or not, you are going to be getting a monster out of it, because obviously if it chooses itself, you get special danger from your deck. If it chooses one of your other cards, it gets special summoned and you draw a card from it. So win-win basically. And then as for Tuschinkakol, I can't pronounce this one, the snake one. Regardless, if it gets discarded, you get special summon it from the graveyard. And obviously if And obviously, if you discarded a different card, you get a special summon and draw a card. So regardless, this card gets special summoned. So it's like, the reason why we chose these 5 ones is because regardless of what's going to happen, they can get special summoned. So it's like, regardless, you can get a card. You can get a card on the field. So it's not really wasting up your hand, and you just go mad for the link plays. Then we're using 1 copy of Dark Grepher. Now, Dark Grepher is like a different version of Armageddon Knight. Again, it's limited to 1. So with this bad boy, if you have a level 5 or higher Dark Monster in your hand, we are running a few like Gizmag, You Don't Care, Orcust Nightmare, the Wonder Wand. I think it's called Wonder Wand. If you have any of those, you can discard them and special summon Dark Grepher from your hand. So it's kind of like gets him in the graveyard for all of their effects, and you're not using up your normal summon. And he also has another effect where you can discard any dark monster in your hand and send a dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now, if you use this effect with the dangers, you will trigger the effects because obviously they are discarded. So if you discard Jackalope, you'll get a free summon off this card, and you set a card up in the graveyard. It's really great, and it's great to set up your graveyard for you, like say Gizmag, or send one of your nightmares to the grave. It's absolutely fantastic. And then 1 copy of Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentant Sky Slasher. So I've been saying recently that Gizmek, you don't care if it's in your hand or grave, simply because it has a quick effect where you can special summon it from your hand or graveyard by banishing 8 cards from the top of your deck face down. Now you might be like, ooh, but you don't want to banish certain cards in case you need them. Well, that is true, but Gizmek is there to help you go for an OTK. So for instance, if he's hand or in your grave, you can just special summon him if you know you can go for the OTK and go for it. Or he's great as well if you want to go for the like higher link plays. Yes, you do need to banish 8 cards, so please bear that in mind. He also has another effect where you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck face down and then target 1 face up monster on the field and destroy it. But you can only use one of the effects of Gizmek per turn, so please bear that in mind. And then we're running 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line. So the reason why we're running O-Line is because, like I say, we have got a lot of cards that like to be discarded, such as through the danger cards. So if you happen to discard O-Lion, you will then trigger its ability to summon out a token. So again, from doing it with the dangers, you get to summon your danger, because obviously you discarded the O-Lion, and you draw a card, then O-Line summons a token. So from just summoning out your danger, you've got 2 cards and you've just picked a card up. Really great. And also you can send it to the graveyard with Foolish Burial to force its effect from activating. The only downside is the Mecha Phantom Beast token isn't isn't a dark monster, it's a wind. So if you do use your Orcust abilities, it won't trigger. But if you do it before the Orcust abilities, then you're good to go. Speaking of Orcust, guys, we are running 3 copies of Orcust Brass Bombard. So all of the Orcusts have ability where you can banish them from your graveyard in order for something to happen. So for Brass Bombard, if you banish it from your grave or remove it from play, you can special summon an Orcust monster from your hand, obviously except for itself. Really great. And then all of the other Orcusts have this shared ability where you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dark monsters. So majority of our cards are, apart from like I say the outline or maybe 1 or 2 cards in our extra deck, but you really get around them. So Brass Bombard is just great for summoning out, like if you just send it to the graveyard, you're able to just go straight into one of your you're able to go straight into like a Orcust Link monster, and then it's in your grave. Go and special a monster from an Orcust monster from your hand for a free summon. Really great. Then 3 copies of Orcust Symbol Skeleton. So this card, instead of special summoning from the hand, you get special summon an Orcust monster from your graveyard. And of course, because a lot of our links also share the word Orcust, you can special summon a Link monster and also Dingesu as well from your graveyard. It can't special summon itself, please bear that in mind, but it's really great because then again it's just another combo extender, just keep it going. And then finally 3 copies of Orcust Nightmare. So Orcust Nightmare is kind of different because it cannot be destroyed by battle with a Link monster, but it's got 100 attack points, it's not going to do a lot of battling. So you can banish this card from your grave and target 1 face up monster on your field. You then send a dark monster from your deck to the grave, and then the monster you targeted will gain 100 attack for each of that monster's level. So if you send a level 8, it gains 800 attack points. You send level 3, you'll gain 300 attack points. It's just great to set up your graveyard beautifully for like more combo extenders while giving your monster on the field more attack points. Having you go over like higher monsters on the field or going for that sweet OTK. So really great effect. And then we've got a little bit of a scrap engine going on. We've got a copy of Scrap Golem and then 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. Now the reason I'm running the Scrap Golem is because you can special summon a scrap monster from your graveyard, so you can keep playing the Scrap Recycler, and because of its effect, it's really great in this deck. It is an Earth monster, so obviously please bear that in mind. If you've used Orcust abilities again, you can't use its ability because obviously it's going to special summon an Earth monster. And the monster you would be special summoning is Scrap Recycler. Now the reason we're running this is because if it's normal or special summoned, you can send a machine monster from your deck to the grave. All of the Orcust monsters are machine monsters. So you have got 3 Scrap Recyclers, an Armageddon Knight, and a Dark Grepher. You have 5 normal summon cards you can go for. All of them can start off your combos. That is really fantastic. Then we are running 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boot. Reason why it's a dark monster, easy to get into the graveyard, and if you remove it from play, you get to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. We are running 1 lone Phantom Knight of Quick Launch, I believe it's called. Quick Launch? No, Rank Up Magic Launch. So that's the reason why we're running Silent Boots, because then it searches out this. Because it's a dark monster, you can send to the graveyard with Armageddon Knight and Dark Grepher, so that's really great. And then finally we're running 2 copies of World Legacy World Wand. Now, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon another copy of it from your hand. Which is, phrase that, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get special summon another copy of it from your hand. So if you've got one, great, free summon. It's also got a really great graveyard effect, where you can banish it from your grave and target one of your banished Orcust monsters and special summon it. So that is really, really, really good effect, because if you, for instance, use Skeleton's effect to special summon a monster, you then use World Wand and banish itself and special summon Skeleton. From just that, you have not used any, all you've done is use 2 graveyard effects and you've got 2 monsters on the field. Really great. You haven't committed to a normal special summon at all. So that's really right. It's just fantastic. We're spamming the board, going on some great link plays. So Magic cards, guys, running 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. I would run the 3rd copy, but it's limited to 2. So that's the only reason why I'm running 2 copies. A lot of our monsters, apart from O-Line, and of course a couple of the scrap cards, are dark monsters, and you don't particularly care if your Orcust cards kind of get banished, because, like say, Wonder One can special summon monsters from the if they are banished, and also Galatea can target one of your banished Orcuses and put it back into the deck. So you don't particularly care if it gets banished, and drawing those 2 cards can be pretty sweet. Then 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Last thing you want to do is get hand trap, especially during all your combos like Ash Blossom. So what this card does is you target 1 monster that is in the graveyard and banish it, and negate its effect until the end of the next turn. And that's really great because a lot of hand traps, apart from the Biru, activate upon activating their effects, get sent to the graveyard. So if you chain it with Called by the Grave, you will negate the hand trap. And the other good thing is, if your opponent plays like Monster Reborn or Called by the Haunted, you can chain it with this card, so to get around that card, so basically they can't special that monster from the grave. Really great. Foolish Burial, guys, because again, it's like the magic card version of Armageddon Knight and Dark Grepher. You can send any of your dark monsters realistically to the graveyard, like Silent Boots if you want to add the rank up magic. Wanderwand if you've got a banished Orcust. Want to play any of your Orcust's abilities, your world is your oyster with this card. Then 1 copy of one for one. Brass Bombard is a level 1 monster, so you can discard any of your other monsters and special on Brass Bombard. Then you can go from there, especially if the card you discarded basically wants to be in the graveyard, because obviously, yeah, it wants to be because obviously its effect's going to trigger. And then 1 copy of Orchestrated Babble. I'm surprised this card was not banned because it is really powerful. So it's a field spell, guys. You can activate this card. With this, you can activate Orcust monsters' effects in your graveyard or link monsters you control as if they were quick effects. So none of these Orcusts, Brass Bombard, Skeleton, Nightmare, or any of our links have a quick effect. But with Babel, they suddenly become quick effects, which is very powerful. It also has another effect where if this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the grave and add this card to your hand. So that's the only reason you're running one copy, is because it's searchable with Galatea. You don't care if it goes to the graveyard because you can just add it back. So it's really great card. And then we've got 3 copies of Orchestrated Return. It's basically a Lure of Darkness for Orcust or World Legacy cards. So you send one Orcust or World Legacy monster from your hand or face up on the field to the grave. Draw 2 cards. You can only activate one of its effect per turn. So because we have, like say, World Want is a World Legacy, and all of your Orcusts obviously are Orcust monsters, you can just basically draw another 2 cards from this, and it is searchable with Galatea. We have got 1 copy of Rhodet Reinforcement Army because it searches out Phantom Knight Silent Boot, Armageddon Knight, and Dark Grepher. And then we've got the lone copy of the Phantom Knight Rank Up Magic Launch. The reason we're running this card, guys, is because if you resurrect Dingirsu with Skeletons as effect, you can go into the King of All Calamities, which is a very powerful monster, which I'll be surprised if they ever do like an update for this game. I'll be surprised if it isn't banned. And also, if you did activate Dingirsu's ability and then search start this, you can go into Calamities that way. So that's the reason why we're running it, is to basically go into Calamities. And then we have 2 copies of the trap cards of Orcust Crescendo. I decided, I was originally running Ursar Goblin. I decided to take it out and just add 2 copies of this because it's just such a fantastic trap. So if you have an Orcust Link monster on your field, which is very easy to do, if your opponent activates a spell or trap or a monster effect while you control your Link Orcust monster, you negate the activation and banish the card. Really great card. And also it has a graveyard effect. So if you banish it from your graveyard, you can add a dark monster from your a dark machine monster, so basically an Orcust or the World Legacy monster, from your deck to your hand. So it is really powerful because, again, during the next turn, you can just basically add it for a combo extender and just go off from there. And that's it for the deck, guys. Going on to the extra deck, we have got 2 copies of Dingirsu, the Orcust of the Evening Star. So with this bad boy, you basically are going to cheese him out all the time, because if you have an Orcust Link monster on the field, doesn't matter what kind of like Link monster, could be a Link 2, 3 or 4, could be whatever, you can overlay that Link monster and go into Dingirsu. So it's kind of like you're using a Link monster to use an Xyz monster. Really weird, but really great. And then Dingirsu has a couple of special abilities. So if a card you control, or cards would be you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can remove one overlay unit, and you can remove one overlay unit to basically negate the destruction. So it's really great to protect your cards, and also it has a free effect, so activate upon being summoned. You can either not activate its effect, you can send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard, and because it doesn't destroy or anything, really great. Or you can attach a banished machine monster and attach it to this card as its material. So then if it goes to the graveyard, obviously, then you'll be able to activate its effect from the graveyard, because if you have Babel. But just being able to use your Link monster and then like play its effect and then go into Dingirsu to basically bounce a opponent's card back to the deck, or bounce opponent's card to the graveyard, it is a really great effect, and it's just so good. And then obviously we're running the Calamities, because like I say, you use it by using the rank up magic on Dingirsu when it doesn't have an overlay unit. And True King of All Calamities basically will win you the game near enough, because it has a quick effect where you use one overlay unit and declare a attribute. All face-up monsters on the field will become the attribute, and all of your opponent's monsters that have that they either summon or currently have on the field will have that attribute. And if they do, they cannot activate their effects and they cannot attack. So it's basically a skill drain for all of your opponent's monsters. Very powerful. And then onto the links, guys, we're running Borrowsword Dragon, helps with OTKs, and just helps us out from there. It has a quick effect where you can target one attack mode monster on the field, change it to defense mode. Borrowload can attack twice during each opponent's battle phase, and your opponent can not even negate that effect. That's why that's good effect. If you activate this during your opponent's turn, like if they try to attack you, you can just swap their monster into defense mode, gives you a little bit of like defensive play. And also, if Borrowsword attacks an opponent's monster, like if it attacks into it, you can cut that monster attack points in half and add it to Borrowsword. So a really great monster. We've got one copy of Cherubini, Airborne Angel of the Burning Abyss. We've got 2 level 3 monsters, basically your Skeleton or like Skeleton and Jackalope and the Snake one. The reason why I'm running this is because it gets them into the graveyard, especially Skeleton, so then you can use its ability to like summon out another monster and help you like link climb. Monsters discard points cannot be destroyed by card effects. It gives it a little bit of protection. And if this card would be destroyed by battle or by opponent's card effect, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard instead, and then you can send a level 3 or 3 monster from your deck to the grave. So basically, if a card would be destroyed by card effect, you can send one other card you control to the grave, so like an Orcust card or whatever. Then you can send Skeleton to the grave, so it basically sets up Skeleton. I don't go into this card as much as I normally do, it's just there as a backup monster. And then on to some Orcust cards, guys. We've got 2 copies of Galatea. As you can see over here, it is limited to 2. Otherwise, I would easily have 3 copies of Galatea. She's really, really, really good. She's one of the best cards in this deck. So you need 2 effect monsters, including a Orcust monster. So 1 Orcust and 1 non-Orcust monster, basically. This link card cannot be destroyed by battle if it's co-linked to a monster, either your monster or your opponent's. It can't be destroyed in battle. Gives it a little bit of protection. And its effect is you can target one of your banished machine monsters, so your World Legacy or your Orcust monsters, and shuffle it back into the deck. Then you can set an Orcust spell or trap directly from your deck. And the best part is, if you searched out Babel, because obviously it's because it has Orcust in its name, Galatea's effect will be a quick effect because it's an Orcust monster. So you can even activate during your opponent's turn next turn to basically set our trap card, so then you have an Omni Negate on board, because obviously Galatea is a link monster. So you have... It's just so good. You can even send Orcust Return to so you can send like another monster to the grave and draw an extra 2 cards. The world you always do with Galatea. And then we're running the 1 copy of IP Masquerena. She's a dark attribute, so even if you do play all of your Orcust cards, you don't particularly care. You can still end up, especially if you're going first, you can still go into IP Masquerena. So then when during your opponent's turn, you can either go into like a Link 4 Orcust monster, Borrowsword, or you can go into Avamax. The world is your oyster. Or you can even go into Unicorn as well, I should say, because during your opponent's main phase, she has a quick effect where you can immediately link summon a link monster, and any monster that has been link summoned using IP Masquerena cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if you use this to go into Avamax, you're near enough got an indestructible monster. It's really, really difficult to get over. And then we've got 2 copies of... we've got 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix and then a copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Phoenix has an effect where if it's link summoned, you discard a card, target a spell or trap on your opponent controls, and destroy it. Discarding that 1 card can be key, especially if you're discarding like an Orcust card, so you can play its special ability. And as for Nightmare Unicorn, because it's a dark monster, you can still play it during your turn or your opponent's turn if you're using it with IP Masquerena. And because it's a dark attribute, you can do it even if you're using all your Orcust effects, because obviously you don't particularly care. And its effect is, if it's link summoned, you can discard 1 card, again sets up the graveyard, and then target 1 card on the field, shuffle it into the deck. It's like kind of like a con pulse, really great effect. Especially during your opponent's turn, because you can especially if they use their normal summon, you can interrupt their plays and then bounce their card back. Especially if you then combine it with Dinkisu, because then you basically get rid of 2 cards your opponent controls just by going into Nightmare Unicorn. Then we've got that little copy of Link Rebo, because it is a level, because you need a level 1 monster. Brass Bombard is pretty much the level 1 monster you'll use. And then because you got it in the grave, if you have a Orcust monster, you banish it, special summon your Orcust monster, then you're able to go into Galatea. And then because you've banished your monster, you can play Galatea's special ability and go off on there. Or from just normal summoning one lone copy of Brass Bombard. And then we've got Longisu, the Orca's Orchestrator. So it has this is like a link free version, a link free Orcust. This linked card cannot be destroyed by card effects. So Galatea can't be destroyed by battle. This card can't be destroyed by card effects. And you can target up to 2 of your banished machine type monsters, shuffling them to the deck, while Galatea only did 1. And then you can send one linked monster, like if this card's pointed to one of your opponent's monsters, you can basically send it to the graveyard. So it's really great, especially if your opponent's got a lot of monsters on the field. It's just great for board wiping. And even if your opponent doesn't even have the monsters that's like pointed to this card, you can still use its ability to send two of your banished cards back into your deck. Chaos Crusader Avamax. When this card is linked, while this links summon cards on the field, it can't be targeted by card effects. And if you used it via RP Masquerena, it can't be destroyed by card effects. So it can't be targeted and destroyed by card effects. It's a really great protection. Also, it has a effect where if it battled a special summon monster, it gains that monster's attack. So the only way, if you did summon it with RP Masquerena, to get over Crusader Avamax is summon a monster with 3,000 or more attack points through a normal summon, which is very hard to do. And then we have one copy of Orchestron. I decided to add this card because, like I say, Galatea is limited to 2, otherwise I'll take this out and add in the 3rd copy of Galatea. So this link card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds of the other 2. You could target up to 3 of your banished machine monsters instead of the others, which is 1 or 2. So it's kind of like the evolved version, and shuffle them to the deck. And any monsters that your opponent controls that are currently like facing its link arrows, their attack and defense becomes 0. So it's kind of great to go into higher just get over easy damage. And also because it's got 3,000 attack, it's good for going for that oomph, beat stick. And then finally, got the copy of Scrap Wyvern because we have a scrap monster. Because we're running, let's say, this kind of like scrap engine. This just lets it easier to just go into, like, you need a scrap monster to go into this card. You can target a scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So you can keep recycling your recycler, so you can keep playing its special ability basically. And that's the only reason why you'd use Scrap Wyvern. And that's it for the deck, guys. I do hope you're enjoying this deck. It's really great. I actually enjoyed playing Orcust. It's really great. And again, I apologise once again for not being able to do a Dragon Maid deck just because it's just unplayable. In my opinion, you just can't play the deck. There's a lot of cards that are missing on it or just banished, and it just kills the deck. Like I said, if you enjoy this deck, guys, hit that thumbs up or even consider subscribing, and because as it does help the channel grow. And with that, guys, wherever you are in the world, stay safe and stay healthy. Take care and goodbye.